This is Factorio. As addictive as it is, there is only so much of it I can play before my little brain does one of these. Around the end of the progression tree, I always get the sense of, what's the point? You know? I wanted to play more, but I needed to spice things up. There must be a way to play Factorio a little differently without it necessarily just being harder. I'll be damned before I install a mod. Like and sub. Did you know Factorio has settings? By changing them, we can fundamentally enhance the way you play the game. Basically, you're getting a whole new experience for no extra cost. The preset game modes are kind of meh. However, we can draw some inspiration from these and even mix and match a bit. Let's see what we can do. Lakes are cool, except that it barely changes anything, but it does give me an idea. Let's ramp it up a little bit and make Norvis really wet. That's what I'm talking about. What this is going to do to your playthrough is twofold. First of all, it's going to create natural choke points so that you can focus on designing singular defense points instead of worrying about being attacked from all sides 24/7. And it's going to make you have to invest in stone for building your factory on water. Or you're going to have to make one ugly snake factory. Then ramp this up to a death world and increase the swarm sizes. This is going to make it so that the bugs are still challenging. Congratulations, we've just made Factorio. Side note about Death World or ramping up the biters in general, it can really make the experience more enjoyable for more veteran players. Personally, I find myself not really focusing on weapons and defense technologies all that much in the base experience. Because, you know, like a few turrets is usually enough. Moving on. Have you ever looked at Factorio and thought to yourself, man, I love building factories, but I hate how much damage I'm doing to this gorgeous planet. Call me Al Gore, but water shouldn't be this color. So why don't we try and play Factorio like a hippie? The rules are simple. As soon as you unlock solar panels, you have to rely on them entirely for power. I know, nuclear is technically clean as well, but in Factorio you have to pump sulfuric acid into the ground to mine uranium. And something tells me that's not good for the soil. You also have to keep pollution as low as possible, so bring out those green modules. You can use your starting lake as a sort of meter for this. If it starts looking like Mountain Dew, it means you're doing a bad job. You can also pair this playstyle with biters that evolve much quicker from pollution, if you need more motivation. Remember to use eco-friendly methods to deal with them. No flame turrets, or dumping all those hot metal casings on the grass. Once you've gone to Gleba, you can even bring back the crazy advanced technology known as planting a tree. And you can turn every inch of your factory into a forest. I guess that can be your final objective. IDK. Next, what is the opposite of a lush, fertile and unpolluted landscape? Well, I'm glad you asked. The answer is in fact, Australia. We've all started a run in Factorio, only to immediately quit because we spawned in the outback, where there aren't enough trees. But what if we ran with this idea? Let's turn Factorio into Mad Max. Back to the settings. Let's turn off water. No water in the ground, no water in the air. It's beautiful. Our world is big, beautiful and open, meaning it's going to be super easy to navigate. But there isn't anything to absorb all our pollution, so the biters might be an issue. This is looking like a cool game mode so far, but we need more. We need some gasoline. Let's make oil a little more important. We can do this by disabling uranium. Okay, that's a little extreme. You might not be able to make certain things if you do that, so let's just ramp it down. And then let's add a little more oil. This is more like it. Driving around has never felt this good. I have to give credit where credit is due. There is one of the default game modes that significantly changes the Factorio experience, and it's called Marathon. It does one thing, increase the amount of science that you need for each tech. That sounds really lame, but let me tell you the effect that it actually has on a playthrough. The way I usually play Factorio is by aiming to have a basic factory that produces about 30 science per minute. Surprise, surprise, I'm not that good at Factorio. But what that means is that my factory only really needs to be a certain size. And I can get to the repeatable techs pretty easily. So if we ramp up the science requirements, even past 4x, let's say to 5 to 10x, it means you have to build in a way that allows for scaling. It slows down the whole experience, because not only do you need more science, but you need to design your factory in a way that allows for more throughput. Side note, I recently had a lot of fun playing on a Death World Island playthrough with 5 times science requirements. It forced me to be conscious of my resource use, because there were only so many ore patches on Norvis. I really gunned for productivity because of this. And I even needed to import resources from the other planets to keep my factory growing. It also allowed me to corral the biters, because they kept freaking my shit. Moving on to space. Unfortunately, the devs didn't want you fucking around with the other planets all that much, so they didn't add that many settings for them in the menu. But let's see what we can do. So, Vulcanus has a lot of resources, but you know what it doesn't have? Water. That makes things pretty hard for wet individuals like the engineer. Luckily, sulfuric acid can be turned into water, albeit at a pretty terrible conversion rate. But what if this wasn't an option? Now, to do anything on Vulcanus, you have to import water from somewhere. This creates the challenge of having to have a dedicated transport ship early on. In general, creating more interplanetary dependency is a cool way to spice up your run. Reducing coal and oil on Norvis means you'll eventually need to import these resources from elsewhere. Shrinking the island sizes on Fulgora means that you'd likely have to export scrap to different planets to process it, only to have to send some resources back. Rarely limiting the resources on Norvis could create a playthrough where you have to wholesale import way more resources than you usually have to. Or it could mean you end up building your main factory on Vulcanus. The possibilities are endless. So there you have it, folks. A bunch of ways to make Factorio great again. Try them out. Or don't. I can't tell you what to do. I'm not your mom. Oh, and if you have any cool ideas for playthroughs, please feel free to share them in the comments. Thanks for watching.